Hi guys, my name is Tiffany, and wow, it's been so long since I said that, but I wanted to do a video with you guys because it's been a long time since I did a sit-down video with you guys, and let's do a Q&A. 'Cause anywhere with you feels right, anywhere with you feels like Paris in the rain, Paris in the rain. When I'm with you, when I'm with you, Paris in the rain. So sorry I've been away from YouTube. If you haven't watched my two previous videos, I kind of share why I quit YouTube these past few months. And honestly, I'm gonna say this does not mean that I'm gonna be back to YouTube as consistently as I was. I do want to try to get more content out for you guys, but honestly, it's been just really rough with my schedule lately, especially with my grad school. I'm like halfway done, and so I'm almost done. So I'm hoping that after grad school is over, I'll have more time to do more sit down talk videos with you guys. But I am super active on my Instagram channel, way more than I am on YouTube. So definitely check me out at NICU Nurse Tiff. And I do post a lot more content on there. And I'm trying to do another season of a mini series where I kind of teach you more about NICU information, but just more condensed into short form. So definitely follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. But I wanted to do a Q&A with you guys because I haven't sat down and talked to you guys in a long time. So let's get started. So the first question I get asked so much is, when am I going to re-release the Itty Bitty Guide to NICU? So if you guys don't know, the Itty Bitty Guide to NICU, it's actually a guidebook that I created to basically go over basic information about the NICU, including acronyms, common meds we give, head-to-toe assessments. And this was kind of like a resource that I wanted to create to use while I was teaching. And especially as a new grad, I know it can be challenging to understand basic terminology in the NICU. So that's honestly why I created this guidebook in the first place. And I did not know how many of you guys would actually like the book. And so I've sold over, I think, 1,300 copies already. So I appreciate you guys so much. And so I do plan to re-release it. I think by the time this video will come out, it actually should be live on my Etsy page. So definitely check down the link in the description, where I'm going to just be putting a link where you guys can purchase. It is in limited quantities because honestly, guys, I don't know how many people actually do want it, and I don't want to buy hundreds and hundreds of books and leave it in my house and no one ends up buying them. And so I do only release it when I have enough interest. So typically on my website, I have a list where if I do sell out of the books, I have an email list, and that's basically where I collect the emails of you guys on who is interested, and then I will email you when the book is re-released. I typically do them in batches, and like I said, it's all because of just space. I don't have a lot of space. So yeah, that's pretty much why. And so yeah, definitely check out my Etsy page to see if it's back in stock. And if not, no worries, just sign up for the email list, and I typically restock it every few months, just depending on how many people do want it, sometimes a little bit earlier if I get a lot more interest. So yeah, definitely make sure to stay tuned. So the next question that you guys asked me is, how long did it take for you to adjust to NICU unit to be confident? So honestly, I would say that it depends on everyone, but for me, in my personal opinion, I would say it took me about a year as a new grad to be fully comfortable just handling my own patient assignment. I know as a new grad, it can be challenging to kind of figure out, when am I ever going to get there? When am I going to be that nurse that knows it all? And I'm going to tell you, after 7 years of being a NICU nurse, I still don't know it all. So I won't ever say that I'm like extremely comfortable, because I'll always be learning every single day, even as a senior nurse now technically. But I would say as a new grad, it took me a year to be just confident enough to handle my own patient assignments. Of course, I'm still asking for help and making sure I'm doing things appropriately, but that's kind of where I was able to kind of start managing my own time a little bit better. And then by the 2-year mark, I would say I'd be the most confident, just because by then I felt that I could critically think a little bit more. I was definitely able to handle my own patient assignments, take on a little bit sicker and more critical patients. And by the 2-year mark is when I was actually starting to teach new hires and new grad nurses. So I felt like by then I was able to gain a lot more confidence. Okay, the next question is advice for a new NICU nurse. So I already did a video on some advice and tips, so make sure to check it out. I'm gonna leave it down in the description below. But basically, summary of that video and what's super important to kind of get you there to become a nurse that's becoming more confident is you really need to know how to manage your time appropriately. And the best way to do that is setting yourself up for success. So that's my biggest tip. And how to do that is just gathering the supplies that you need and having an appropriate brain sheet that works best for you. You can take other people's brain sheets and kind of make one that you think works best. And that way you can really prioritize your time. So for me, I always typically, starting out, I'd have my brain sheet, write down all my medications, all my orders, and kind of review basic information. I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of times I don't have time to read over the patient chart at the beginning of the shift, especially when I have a 3-baby assignment. So I really have to just like get going. And so I like to just write down all my medications, orders, and then just kind of start going. So having a brain sheet that keeps you organized is the best way to do that. And then my second tip is just being organized. So for me, I always teach my new grads, before you go into the patient rooms, think about what your patient needs. So kind of go over what you learned in report about your patients. If your patients are bottle feeders or if they're tube feeders, then you know in your head, okay, these patients are going to need feeding tubes. They're going to need feeding syringes. So I should grab a few of those before I go in. And also, this is where the brain sheet comes in. You know what medications you need, right? So you're going to grab those before you enter the patient's room. So for me, I actually have my new grad grab a basket or like a plastic bag and just start filling it with different supplies that you think you'll need, at least for your first cares. Because I'm going to tell you, when I train a ton of new people or new grad nurses, what ends up happening the most is sometimes the room is not fully stocked and you're running back and forth, grabbing supplies you need, which wastes so much time. And that's what affects your time management. So that's why I think the biggest tip is just grabbing stuff that you think you might need, at least for the first assessment. And then just grabbing them, putting them in the basket or bag, and then bringing it. You can leave it outside of the room so it doesn't contaminate. And then that way you could just easily walk out of the patient room really quick, like right in front of the door, grab the supply you need, just go back in instead of having to walk all the way to the supply room or walk all the way to the med room just to grab stuff. Does that make sense? So those are 2 important tips that I usually teach all my new grads to set you guys up for success. The next question is, did your current hospital respect your prior NICU experience or start from zero? That's a really great question. So I started out as a new grad, had 4 years of NICU experience at my previous hospital. And then eventually I did move back to the Bay Area to be closer to my family. So now I do work at a different hospital. And so this is my second ever nursing job, you would say, and it is still in the NICU. So, I would say it was a yes and a no. A yes in that I did come from a place with 4 years experience. So my orientation process was a lot shorter. It was only like, I think 6 shifts. And basically it was just having my preceptor there kind of go over how they do things at my current hospital right now. But I was pretty much hands-on everything. And they were basically there just as a resource. So because I did have NICU knowledge already, they were kind of just there to resource me and help me and kind of answer just some questions that I had, but pretty much very independent work. So in that sense, that's what was the difference, in that I did come from experience and I was not a new grad, so I did know how to take care of patients. I did know how to handle patient assignments. So more of anything, they would just give me stuff just to expose me to how they do things at this hospital. But I would say that the difference, though, for sure, is that I do kind of have to earn my trust, which happens in any hospital that you start new at. No matter how many years of experience you do, whether you have 5 years or 20 years, you kind of have to gain trust of the unit because they don't know where your current status is at. And your skill sets and what you can and can't do. And so even though for some people they may have 20 years of experience, but maybe they came from like a level 1 NICU or level 2 NICU where they didn't handle a lot of like surgical patients or like super sick chronic babies. And so they probably don't know how to handle those kind of things. And so it's very reasonable for the current hospital to kind of give you some assignments to kind of test your skills and see where it can take you. And then if they feel like they can trust you enough, then they'll give you more advanced assignments, I guess. And so that's kind of where it was for me coming to my current hospital now with 4 years of experience. I still had to gain some trust of the unit. And so by doing that, you know, kind of being a helpful hand on the unit, helping other nurses, kind of advocating for yourself as well, and asking for more sick critical assignments if that is what you want to do. And then just, yeah, taking on a little bit more responsibility. For me, also that involves being active on the unit. So I did join different committees. I'm part of 2 committees on my unit. And so that kind of shows them that I'm actively involved and want to be engaged. And that's where the trust level starts to grow. And then they see that you can handle more, take on more. And so they will see that you are a dependable person. And so they may give you more things and more responsibilities and things like that. So I feel like it's a half and a half. They did take into account my experience from in the past more on how I can handle patients for sure. But it did take me a while to kind of gain a little bit of trust. And I still am gaining trust on my unit. I'm only 3 years in at my current hospital right now. And so I still am developing that trust and showing them what I can and can't handle. And at my current hospital right now, it's all about like, what skill sets do you want to be interested in? They don't force us to take on anything we don't want to do. So like, for example, you are not forced to become a charge nurse if you don't want to. And I know at other hospitals, that's totally different. Like after a year of experience, probably you start taking on bigger roles and responsibilities, but that's not the case in my current hospital. So it's more about kind of your own personal self-growth and learning however you want to. And so that's kind of on you. So if you don't want to do ECMO, if you don't want to do resource/triage nursing and go to deliveries, if you don't want to handle more sicker patients, you technically don't have to. So it's really all about how you showing them what you do want to take on, and they can kind of see that and give you those kind of patients if that's something you're interested in. So that's kind of where I'm trying to build that trust right now, and showing them that I can take on sick patients. I know how to handle kids on oscillators and jets and, you know, more advanced critical kids with trachs and stuff like that. So showing them that I can handle those kind of things, then they're able to trust me a little bit more, and I'm slowly taking on more classes so that I can be more advanced in my skills. And the next question is, what is your plan after graduation? So if you guys don't already know, I am currently getting a Master's of Science degree in nursing, focusing on nursing education. And whenever I tell people I'm going back to school, their immediate look on their face is like, oh, are you gonna leave us? Are you gonna do something different, change career paths, stuff like that? And so I've talked about it in one of my videos where I do share with you guys that I'm going back to school. And in that video, I talk about this is more of a future long-term goal, a long-term plan. It's not something that I plan to do immediate. As soon as I finish graduating, I'm gonna become a nurse educator right away. I'm still already taking on those kind of responsibilities at my hospital right now, where I do a lot of teaching. I do a lot of education with new grad nurses, new hire nurses. I teach skills labs. I go over lectures, things like that. So I'm already kind of doing the things that I'm learning about. Doing the MSN program was more for myself. And at this point in my life, I don't have responsibilities such as like having kids and having a family to take care of, things like that. So I thought this is the best time in my life to go back to school, because I'm gonna be honest with you, if I had other responsibilities like kids and families, I don't think I would be able to go back, just because I'm the type of person where I get immersed in whatever's going on in my life. And if school is added on top of that, I don't think I'd be able to concentrate or be involved in something like that. So I thought right now, since I don't have a whole lot of responsibilities to do, I would do the program. And so now I'm 1 year in and I'm almost done already. So time really does pass by really, really quickly. And I don't want to discourage anyone from not going back to school, even though you have other things going on in your life. I have a lot of personal stuff going on in my life right now, and I still manage to do school. So it's so possible. And I still work full-time as well. So don't ever feel discouraged. There's no age limit to when you go back to school either. I'm now 7 years as a nurse, and it took me so long to finally even consider going back to school. And so like I'm telling you guys, there's no timeline. I literally have people in my class that are almost retired nurses, have been nurses for 30 years, and just still want to advance in their career and learn. Because in nursing, there's so much to learn. There's different avenues to learning. And so there's so many opportunities, and there's never a time of when you cannot go back to school and learn. So it's always great for personal self-growth. But going back to the question, I don't plan to become a nurse educator like immediately, where I quit bedside nursing and become full-time nurse educator. I still want to do bedside. I still absolutely love doing bedside. I don't plan to quit my current job. I still love doing what I do on my unit and working with the people that I work with right now. So more personally, I just did it for my own future growth, and that yes, one day I do want to become a nurse educator, whether that be a part-time nurse educator or a full-time nurse educator. But for now, I still love doing bedside nursing, and this is more just to like advance in my own personal growth. And I'm already kind of doing what my program is kind of all about, and kind of using that to help already enhance what I currently do. I know a lot of people do ask me, do you need to have a master's degree to become a nurse educator? Technically, no. Like I could have just continued doing what I'm doing on the unit right now and I do not need a master's degree for that. But I think for me, I know this is a future goal of mine because I absolutely love to teach, and I do want to have like an actual position in it one day. And so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I will of course update you guys if I ever do plan to become a part-time, full-time educator or whatnot. But yeah, for now at least, this is just more of self-growth reasons and kind of enhancing what I already do. And then the last question that I got is, what is the NICU interview like? So I've done a lot of interviews in the past when I was a new grad, and I'm gonna tell you, there's no like specific things for each interview that I did was like catered towards NICU. Most of the time, I'm going to say like 90% of the time, it is very general questions, whether it's a NICU interview or I was applying for adult units as well. So it would always ask me the general basic questions of like, tell me about yourself, why do you want to work for our hospital, kind of things like that. So I have a video about like basic interview tips. I'm going to also leave it down in the description, and hopefully that video can help you out. But honestly, that video that I made is kind of like the general idea of how you should approach an interview. And 90% of the time is very basic general questions. But sometimes in a NICU specific interview, especially if you're doing a new grad program, that 10% of the time you're going to be asked like scenario based questions. And a lot of people ask me like how to prep for those scenario based questions. And I think all I can tell you is that you just need to remember your ABCs. Airway, breathing, circulation is always number one important when you're approaching these questions. And then the second tip is knowing when to ask for help and delegating. So those are the two most important tips I can share with you guys, because I cannot tell you what exact questions you're going to get asked, what scenarios you're going to get asked. Every interview is always so different, and the scenarios they're going to ask you is different. But the general idea is to see how you can handle any critical situation. And the most important thing is always being able to assess your airway. If you are uncertain, then calling for help, asking a respiratory therapist to come to bedside to help assess with you, another nurse, doctors, anything like that, having other people come to bedside to help you out if you need to, and learning how to delegate. So if your patient is super critical in one room and you have to take care of that patient, what is going to happen to your other patients? Well, the answer is delegating tasks to other people. So you can ask another nurse, maybe outside the room, hey, I'm in here right now. Can you please help me assess and make sure my other patient is doing fine? Or you can ask the charge nurse or resource nurse to kind of come and help assess the other patient or help without the other patient, so that way you can handle your critical sick patient or whatever is happening in your other room, if that makes sense. So that's kind of where these new grad programs are kind of wanting to see how you can handle critical situations. Always the most important thing is assessing the one that is sick, and then doing your ABCs, and always making sure that if you don't understand something or you don't understand the question, then sometimes asking for help is the best way to go, and calling other people into the room to kind of assess the situation with you. So that's kind of like my tips on how to address scenario-based questions. I know it's very challenging. People really want me to give them like the straight nitty-gritty on like how do I answer a scenario question, but I really can't tell you because every scenario is so different. So follow just those two tips, ABCs, and learning how to delegate and asking for help. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's been so long since I sat down with you guys and really chit-chatted with you. I do want to do more sit-down videos one day, but right now it is not in the cards just because I have so much going on, but I do want to scatter some videos here and there. So please let me know down in the comments below what videos you want to see, because I think that's where I struggle the most right now. Is I want to make sit-down videos, but I don't know what to talk about. And I feel like, I don't know, sometimes I'll post a video and I don't get the interactions that I'd want, and not a lot of people watching my videos. So I'm like, is this even helpful? So I don't want to create content and make videos on things that are not relevant to you. So please let me know what videos you guys want to see, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. 'Cause anywhere you feels right, anywhere you feels like Paris in the rain, Paris in